Welcome to this week's podcast. Today, my guest is Helly Rodriguez. Helly is a triathlete that has a very impressive record when it comes to triathlons, with multiple wins at all distances, which has led him to achieving qualification for the World Championships in Utah this year. I'm really looking forward to speaking to you, Helly. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's a huge honor to be here in your program.
Thank you. Shall we start with an introduction? Do you want to just introduce yourself and to the listeners and explain your background and where you're based?
Yeah, well, basically, I started in the triathlon 5 years ago. I started from scratch. I'm full-time worker. I'm father of the 2 boys, 1 girl, and I take care of the house. And I decided start my journey in the triathlon groups on the triathlon career because I was in so many health problems. I was overweight. I was over 250 pounds, and I have with several problems with the stress, and my life was in a real mess. So I'm start to get in triathlon, and that was like a miracle that changed my life. I'm always say this sport changed my life, and my last 5 years I'm started working hard in this sport, and now I'm ready to race in the World Championship Utah in September 17 and 18. And it's in a beautiful journey, it's in a beautiful sport, and give me so much thing, discipline, help my health condition, and help me as a person as well.
Brilliant. I'm really impressed with your journey. When we've spoken before, you mentioned about was it 5 years ago that you weren't into fitness at all, and as you said, you were overweight, and you found triathlon, which is very, very similar to the way I found triathlon and kind of my fitness journey. But what was the big motivation? Was it health that got you thinking about finding a sport? And was there a catalyst? Was there something that kind of made you decide to get into fitness?
Yeah, it was basically one particular situation with my family. I was so under too much stress, and I remember one night everybody was together on the table, and I had a terrible reaction. And in that moment, I just realized, hey, I need to change my life. I need to do something better with my life, because everybody around me deserve one better person. And I'm start to check maybe I can go for a run, maybe I can go to the gym. And I'm start to see, I always remember I saw an Ironman race, and I saw Craig Alexander crossing the finish line. And I say, hey, I can do that. That's exciting. And I'm start to first check websites, check everything related with the triathlon. And I realized it's not just a sport. It involves so many things, because you need to know about the sport itself, but you need to know about your nutrition. You need to know about your aerodynamics. You need to know about your mechanical for a bike. And I say, hey, this is interesting, because that can help me with my health situation, and also I can learn about 2 different topics, and it can be amazing. And that was like an awakening, was the one that changed my life. I can say 100 degree, just like that.
That's brilliant. Were you into running, cycling, or swimming before you found triathlon? I know you said you started pretty much from zero in terms of fitness, but was there anything that kind of attracted you to triathlon apart from watching one?
Yeah, when I saw these guys on TV, My first thought was they are impressive. How you can do all these three disciplines and in that time. And then I started to research website and I started to learn about all this sport, and requires so much discipline, requires so much constancy. You have to keep this motivation every day. And I think that was the key, have like a goal. You can set on a goal and then you get it, and then you say, okay, I can do this and then I can do this. For example, in my case, my first goal was finish one sprint triathlon. Sounds funny, but that was my first goal. I say, wow, I don't know if I can do it. And I remember my first sprint triathlon, I finished almost in 2 hours. And I saw the guys crossing the finish line. I say, I can do this better. And I started working on it, and I started to check training plans, and I tried to set one schedule for my training, for my family, for my work. And then I was getting better. And then I finished first overall in my third sprint triathlon.
That's fantastic. That's really fantastic. I mean, I very similar to you. I stumbled upon triathlon. Someone, I've mentioned it in the podcast before, someone asked me to do a triathlon with them, and I never thought I would do it. And it came to the day of the race, and I was very, very similar. I remember looking back now at the time that I did in that sprint triathlon, and a very, very similar sort of time to you, kind of 2 hours. The 20 kilometer bike, which was quite hilly. I remember feeling. I actually remember on my first triathlon, the 20 kilometer bike. I stopped halfway round, and then started again. And it was. It's interesting, isn't it? I think it's really important to look back at these sort of things and realize how far you have come, and kind of talking about where you have come from. So you've now qualified for Utah, the World Championship 70.3, which is hugely impressive. But you've had an absolutely amazing season or seasons with an impressive record of winning at all distances. Do you want to just talk about kind of the triathlons that you've experienced and how you've motivated yourself to kind of the position of getting into, a 70.3 World Championship?
Yeah, it wasn't a beautiful journey. And like I say, I'm always say this sport changed my life. And I'm a star, like I won first timer with my first triathlon sprint. And I work hard. And then I finished first in overall, and I'm start to think, well, maybe I can go to an Olympic and I can do something decent there. I'm gonna start to work. I prepare a new training plan, and I check my nutrition. I improve my equipment, and then I'm gonna start to work hard, and I complete my triathlon Olympic, and I think in the fourth Olympic triathlon, finished first in overall. Previous to that race, I finished first in my age group, and then I keep this motivation to I can do better, I can be better, I can improve my time, and I start to research more information in the internet. I'm start to improve my training plan. I'm start to prepare one nutrition plan. I remember I changed everything. Actually, before to be a triathlete. My diet wasn't a disaster. Then when I start to train hard and I start to understand my body require more nutrients, my body require more tools to be successful. I'm turned and now I'm vegan, and that changed my life as well, because I just not improve my health. I've improved everything in me, because now I feel more strong. I feel my recovery time is short, and I feel like I'm in really good shape. I can say now I'm in my 40 plus, and I can say I'm in my best shape of my life. And my big motivation is always look my old picture and see how was it, and think about to my old behave, and always was in a bad mood. Always was under stress. But with this sport, always you have the motivation to getting better. You have the community, and you always talking with triathletes, and you can share experience, and that is an extra boost for you. And this is the reason, because when I finish my Olympic triathlon first and overall, I say, I can do better, and I'm gonna start to work hard for Ironman 7.3, and I'm gonna start to work hard, complete registration and races, get experience, check the elite, how they work, how they prepare everything, and I'm gonna start work hard. And now I'm so lucky because I qualified to Worlds, and I'm gonna go to Worlds in September, and I'm gonna try to do my best, try, because I'm gonna be next to the big guys, next to the elites, and you can have experience and then at the same time prove yourself.
Just in terms of kind of your race experience, you've come first in at all distances that you've participated in. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm so lucky. It was a lot of work, but in this sport, you have to work hard, but in the same time, you have to be like in a one average of the lucky. Have to be your best day. Have to be the weather perfect for you. And yes, I finished first in overall for sprint for Olympic. And my best result in 7.3 is a top 20, and first in my age group. And now I have for a goal in 2022 go to full Ironman and get qualification for Kona. And well, we start working on it. I just want to finish this season with the Utah St. George, and probably I'm gonna finish my last race this year is gonna be Augusta 7.3, and then we're gonna start to prepare the training plan for qualification to Kona in 2022.
I wish you all the luck with that. That sounds like, well, you sound like you've got the attitude and the application that will get you through that. And yeah, it does. In the conversations we've had, you seem to have a very logical way of kind of training and kind of very methodical about how you set up for training. Uh, do, do you have, when you prepare for your season, do you have like short-term goals and long-term goals in terms of how you progress your performance?
Yeah, basically, when you're in this level, you have to be so technical. First of all, you have to plan your season. You cannot be like, oh, well, in 2 weeks, I'm going to do this race. No, in my case, I'm planning my season and say, well, for this season, I'm going to have three 7.3, three Olympic, and my goal is finish first overall always. Then when you have the plan of your season, you have to work in your budget, because this sport is expensive, so you have to
Mhm.
see what is your budget, what is the equipment you need, what is going to be your nutrition plan, what is going to be all your meals, how it's going to be your nutrition. And then when you have your races and your bucket list and your list, you say, okay, for example, my first race is going to be, for example, Florida 7.3. Okay, I know Florida is in a hot place. I have to be prepared for the temperature. I have to be prepared for the humidity. I have to be prepared with my nutrition in the best shape. I have to measure how many electrolytes, how many protein I need. Then when you have your race plan, you can start to work in the equipment. Okay, what bike I need, what is the setup of the bike? I need full rear wheel, I need conventional wheel. What is going to be the setup of the saddle? It's a hilly course, it's a flat course. You have to be prepared for every single aspect. And then when you have all your plan in the table, you say, okay, I'm going to start to work. And in my case, usually I'm always start my training plan with endurance. I'm working hard in endurance. I'm going to go for long biking. I'm going to go for long running. I'm going to go for long swimming. And then when I feel with my body's ready to support, to get good in this endurance, and start to work in speed. I'm start to do bricks. I'm start to go for sprint, race simulation is crucial in my training. I'm always trying to, probably 1 month previous to the race, I'm going to the place and I'm going to set one place with similar condition, and I complete one race simulation, everything with the wetsuit, transition 1, bike, nutrition, transition 2, running, and then checking my result. I'm gonna start to see whether I'm failing. I'm failing in the time because my type was horrible. What was the reason? Was the nutrition? Was the enough water? Was there enough nutrients? And then you can be prepared for your race.
Yeah, so Utah's quite dry, very hot and hilly course, isn't it? So is that what you're preparing for at the moment? Because the World Championships is in September, so I'd imagine you're quite far down the road of kind of getting that heat acclimation training and hill training that you need. Is that the case at the moment? You in the thick of the kind of preparations for Utah?
Yeah, Utah is going to be a huge challenge because, first of all, it's going to be the first time for me in that race, in that course. And second one is going to be hot. The average temperature is going to be between 285 and 90. And third is going to be hilly course. I'm expecting for the biking is going to be at least 3,000 feet of elevation. And then in the running, we're going to have around to 1,200 feet of elevation because we are running to a snow canyon. And it's going to be hilly, it's going to be hot, and it's going to be tough because the best of the world is there, and you're going to be in the same level. You know, you are racing with the elites guy. You always watching these guys on TV, and you say, hey, I can beat that guy. Of course I can. And you try to do your best. And this is the reason, because I think this race is going to be so interesting. And at the same time, it's going to be funny.
How much of looking back at kind of your triathlon career so far, 5 years ago, would you have thought that you would have got to the level that you got to? And how much of that has come from confidence in your ability?
I'm going to give up. It's too much for me. But then you have that sensation like, no, I can be better. I need to just be prepared. I need to work on my preparation. I need to improve in every single aspect. And it's funny because I'm always remember that first race, and I was walking in the end, and the people saw me, and I start to see the people around me saying, wow, this is not easy. I mean, easy, it's hard, but was a great experience. And I saved that medal like my first a big achievement in this career. And I love see the pictures, and I love see the progress, because that is the key in this sport, is the motivation. You have to be motivated all the time. Otherwise, you say, I don't want to train today. I feel tired. I feel sore. But you have to find what is your motivation, what is your personal goal, and go for it.
How much of your training at the moment, in terms of kind of progressing for Utah, how much of your training is focused around kind of volume, and how much of it is focused around kind of intensity?
Yes, basically before to every race, I have on a training plan of 10 weeks. And basically I'm always start with an endurance, and then I'll go to speeds, and then I go to settle down and recovery. Basically, my daily routine is around 2-3 hours daily, every day. Sometimes I have a 1 day recovery. Sometimes I have one easy session as recovery. But basically, I'm working the 2-3 hours daily, 6 days out a week. Sometimes I have a long training, or I have a race simulation. Sometimes I have an Ironman race simulation. That means it's 1 day of a 19 hours training. And you have to be careful with your nutrition. You have to be careful with your recovery. But basically, in my case, I'm training around 2-3 hours daily.
Good. And you mentioned earlier about having, full time. You're working full time, and you've got a family. How in terms of your family, are your children involved in sport? Do you include them in your training in any way? Is that a way of kind of motivating yourself as well?
Yeah, basically, my family is one of the foundation for me in this career, in this triathlon career. They are supporting me all the time. They are always checking my training. My little girl, she's my first coach, and always when I'm not finished first in overall, she say, "Dad, what was that?" So, I'm trying to be so organized. I'm trying to keep my schedule for training, work, and family. A couple years ago, with all this COVID situation, and turned to for training indoor, and that worked for me. Usually, in the week, if I'm training 2-3 hours at a day, probably I'm choosing 2-3 days just for indoor training. I have my pain cave here in the back. I have a treadmill. I have my bike. I have all the equipment what I need. And basically, I'm trying to set schedule when the kids they are sleeping, or when the kids are in the park. I'm doing two things, or between meetings and my work, I'm doing something in my treadmill or in my bike. But it's not easy. I mean, you have to be so organized.
At the moment, you're training for Utah. Is there lots of brickwork in terms of kind of cycling and running together to be ready?
Yeah, basically for Utah, I'm prepared. I have one special training plan. I'm working hard with the elevation, with climbing and the bike. I'm working hard with the elevation and the running. I try to deal with the heat, and I try to. One of my special training is make breaks with elevation and heat, and I just try to say my body, hey, we have to work to do. It's gonna be in a tough environment. You have to be ready.
Yeah, I can imagine training for heat is not nice. It's not nice training. But to combine that with hills as well, I mean, you can't get any more difficult, can you?
Yeah, the key here in this race for me is gonna be the nutrition. I need to. I'm measuring right now with. You can find different software apps or devices in the market, and I'm measuring my sweaty average and sweaty. I'm measuring my level of the sodium. I'm checking my level of the every single nutrient in my body, and I'm making adjustment every day, because when it's hot and you have humidity in the same time, you have to play smart and you see, okay,
Yeah.
how many bottles I need. Every bottle have to be electrolytes, have to be nutrients, sodiums, so many things you have to cover to be prepared for this race.
Yeah, I can imagine that's quite challenging, especially with the heat. Um, are there any aspects of training that you find hard?
Yeah, I mean, this sport is so tricky because sometimes you have one weakness. For example, I'm not a good swimmer, but when I'm working hard and the swimming, um, I'm getting worse and running or and biking, and you have to try to cover all the areas. Sometimes it's not easy, but you have to be checking times all the time, checking your records time, checking your average mileage, because you have to, for example, in my case, I'm trying to cover some goals at a week. For example, I try to go for swimming at least 10,000 yards at a week. For biking, my goal is 150 miles at a week. And for running, I'm trying to run 50 miles at a week. So I'm trying to
Wow.
cover all this sport. I try to cover all this area with one decent time. The other key for me is try to see what is the time for my competitors, what is the time for the elite right now? And this is a good reference for you because you can see if they are running the mile in 6 minutes, you have to see, oh, okay, I have to push hard because I'm going to catch this guy in the race. So I need to be aware about the times. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned about swimming. We've spoken about this on the podcast previously, but most people see their weakness as swimming, or find swimming the most challenging. When you first started triathlon, could you swim?
I was terrible swimming. Actually, I'm still a terrible swimmer, and I am working hard in the swimming. I try to, in all my swimming session, I'm always including technique. I'm always spending at least 2,000 yard or 2,000 meter just in technique, checking my technique, using cameras, checking with the coaches, and see, because sometimes you start to swim, but in the first 200 meters, everything is fine. But then you start to getting worse. And in the end, you are in a complete disaster. So it's so important. Record yourself, check the technique, check the angle for the arms, check the angle for your lower body, check your kick, because the swimming is so important when you are in this career. And also remember, we are swimming in ocean, we are swimming in lakes, we are swimming in river, and you have to be prepared for every environment because every race is different.
Yeah, I agree. I think swimming is very, very technical, and efficiency through the water, which sets you up for the rest of the race. So it's hugely important that your technique's correct. Unlike running and cycling, again, there are technical elements to running and cycling, but it's not the same as swimming. Just for the listeners that are looking to get into triathlon, I ask this question of every guest that comes on the podcast. Are there any tips that you have for the listeners that are looking to get into triathlon or have just started their triathlon journey that you found would be useful for people to know?
Yeah, my first tip, I'm always, when I'm talking with first timer or the people they want to just get in this sport, my tip is always say, just do it. Don't think about an expensive bike. Don't think about the old expensive equipment. Don't think about the Ironman races at the moment. Just do it. Just go for training. Meet one community, the triathlon, because they can give you good tips, and just go outside and do it. Apply, complete your registration for your first race, and that is going to be a good motivation. And just do it. Take your bike, take your shoes. It's all you need, and go for your race. And then in the middle, you're getting better, and you are setting personal goal. You can start to think, okay, well, maybe I need to improve my bike. Maybe I need to change my shoes. But in the first timers, my advice is just go outside and do it.
That's good advice. Yeah, we've again spoken about this on the podcast previously, but it is so important to make sure that you don't overthink. And there is a tendency. I mean, triathlon is incredibly difficult. It is a difficult sport. You're combining three sports and trying to be good at three sports. So, a lot of people find that quite daunting, and it is the main reason why most people don't do triathlon is because of the swim. But it is also the kind of the amount of training you have to do. So yeah, you're right. I mean, my biggest tip is to go and watch a triathlon. Go and speak to someone that does triathlon and trains for triathlon. Go and train with someone that does triathlon. Go in the pool with someone that actually is doing 3 or 4 swims a week, and just see what's involved. I find it really useful. I found it very useful when I started to watch people's social media and what people were saying they were doing on a day-by-day basis in terms of their training. But to go and actually watch a triathlon and feel what it's like to do a triathlon, I think is a really good first step. And don't be discouraged by the fear of doing triathlon. I think one of the problems is most people, your mind is set up in such a way that you try to talk yourself out of things. But there's no better feeling, in my opinion, than achieving your objectives. And it doesn't have to be a race. It could be improving your running time, improving your swim time, improving your cycling power. But set yourself some objectives to try and improve. Even if you improve just one of those disciplines, it's a great kind of reward for yourself in terms of your own fitness.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because in this sport, you have a win-win. You are working and improve your performance in the race, but at the same time, you're improving your health because you start to eat better. You start to take care about your heat rotation. You start to take about to all the aspect of your life. And isn't a win-win for sure. And isn't a great sport. It's not easy. But if you are organized and you have that personal goal, you have that motivation, of course you can do it.
Yeah, I agree. Are there any essential pieces of equipment that you're never without? Equipment that you think is really important for listeners to know about?
Yeah, basically, I'm always trying to keep two pair of goggle always in my bag, because always when you're training something happen and you need to have a replacement, I'm always trying to keep two pair of running shoes ready to go, because you have to be prepared. And regarding with the bike, when I'm going for training or going for a race, I have one bag prepared with all my basic tools, with all the lubricant, all the thing what I need. And I try to be for everything, because you have one special situation. Sometimes the course change and you have to make one adjustment in the bike. So, but basically I try to keep one part extra always in my bag, one goggle, extra shoes, something, because you have to be prepared.
So what you've got Utah coming up in September, and then you're potentially looking to do Ironman next year. What else is on your goal list in terms of objectives for your triathlon career? Do you have kind of a plan for the next few years? And if so, what does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Now I'm working with my sponsors and I'm trying to make the plan for 2022. In this plan, we are planning go to one full Ironman qualification for Kona, go to Kona, having a decent, result. And also we are planning go to Super League. It's so popular in Europe. We try to get in the Super League as well. And also we are planning go to the ITU races and see if we can do something there as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, that'd be good. So just kind of wrapping up the podcast, I will put a link in the description about people that want to contact you through social media. I have really enjoyed talking to you, and I find it really impressive in terms of not only what you've achieved so far, but also your attitude and your approach to training. It feels so meticulous, and I feel like you are kind of really organized in the approach that you take. But yeah, it's been really, really good talking to you, and I've enjoyed hearing about it, and I look forward to hearing about Utah and how you get on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm one perfect example. You can change your life. I was 5 years ago, chubby, overweight, with so many stress problem, and then I turned my life, and then now I'm going to Worlds. I'm gonna try to be on the podium, and I have a beautiful goal for next year. I think Kona is a dream for all the triathletes out there, and try to get a podium in Kona is a beautiful dream. and it's possible. You can do it. Just you need to do the first step and find that motivation. You can go and talk with triathletes. You can go and meet with the community. You can check the social media. This podcast that you have right now is a perfect example. You can get all the information you need, and you can just go and do it. Go and do it, change your life, and set the goal and go for that goal.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, having done this podcast now for a few months, I met lots of people that I have never spoken to before. I've followed them on social media. The one key consistent message is about that lifestyle change. And the whole purpose of this podcast is to try to give information back to the community that's been so supportive of me. I'm not the best triathlete. I am not, I've got certain weaknesses. Running in particular is not my strong point. But the common theme is kind of about that approach and attitude towards lifestyle and changing your lifestyle. And, it's been hugely impressive seeing your journey and seeing everyone's journey that's been on this podcast. And it's one that I share because, I was never into sport. In my 30s, I wasn't into sport. I was into sport when I was at school, but I've never been athletic. But the one thing that motivates me more than anything is seeing and helping people with their journey. And it's been really, really good having you on the podcast and hearing about your journey. I'm very, very sure that there'll be a lot of people that take inspiration from what you've done and where you've got to. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how you get on at Utah. Hopefully, it'll go really well. I'm sure it will. I'm sure you've got everything planned well for that. But I wish you all the best.
Thank you. I appreciate your help. I appreciate your support and the support of everybody on social media. I think that is a great motivation to go out there and training every day hard. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes you feel tired. Sometimes you feel sore. Sometimes you say, I can do it. But when you have this feedback, the people like you, the people in the social media, it's a great motivation to keep pushing, get good result, and help the community, because that's another thing what I have in mind. Always try to help to first timer, always try to help to the people is getting in this sport, and just like I say, just go outside and do it.
Brilliant. Thank you. And a message to all the listeners. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like the podcast. It would be great if you could subscribe to the podcast as well. But if you've got any comments or if you've got any questions for Helly or myself, please put those in the in the box below. Thanks again for listening this week, and thanks for joining me, Helly. It's been really good.
Thank you. No, thank you for the opportunity, and the best for you and the best for your program.
Thank you.